Well, hey guys, and welcome to another Wednesday live stream here on Tactical Review. Thank you so much for joining me. We've had a little bit of conversation going over here in the chat. And as I was saying in the chat, I feel a little behind the eight ball. So I work in IT, and my computer went down over the weekend. And I literally just got back to the point of having a working computer at work this afternoon. And unfortunately that means that my typically fairly relaxed schedule at work, which allows me to do some of the research that I put in for these live streams, wasn't there. So I've touched on a few things and we'll get into that, but first up I see Jeremy Wilson. How you doing, brother? I've been talking to Vanessa and Poor Conservative, and so yes, I'm cousin it. Can't you see the long hair? You got it? No. Anyway, but speaking of Poor Conservative, who drew up the design for the Tactical Review American Pride shirt that is available on the Teespring store. Let me get out of the way here and put that up. My Teespring shirt came in today, and let's find the button here and get that out of the way. So I have one of the early Hammer Shaming shirts. You'll notice it doesn't have the sleeve printing on it. I ordered mine literally I think a half hour before they gave me the thumbs up that the listing was live with the flag. So if you order a Hammer Shaming shirt, it's going to have the American flag on the right sleeve and the Tactical Review logo on the left sleeve. So I've got a super limited edition shirt. Brownies, how you doing? Glad you guys are here. I think all of you guys have taken the opportunity, but if not, click the top link up there in the chat, or the one that's down in the video description, and get yourself registered for the 250 subscriber giveaway. We are 7 days away right now as we speak from that drawing, live on this very live stream. Well, not this very live stream, next week's very live stream. And I have the goodies right here. Two of you fine folks will win an Olight i3E EOS. This is their little keychain offering, runs off of a single AAA. And yeah, you can go back and check I've got a video and you can see what the actual runtime on that was. One of you will win an i3T EOS. This is just like my personal EDC flashlight, clipped right here on my belt. Keep it right with my Gerber tool. And if I'm wearing something that the Gerber tool doesn't fit well, this is clipped in my pocket. Love this thing. And one lucky winner will take home, or well, will receive at home, this wonderful Four Brothers EDC dump tray. So I really like having, it's great to just have some place and you put all the stuff that you keep in your pockets, put it all in one place. It's a lot easier to not forget stuff when you're doing that. And speaking of Four Brothers, I want to once again thank Jason for giving or donating that dump tray at cost for this giveaway, and just give him another shout out. Once again, I've got 3 Four Brothers holsters for my Glock 19, and he makes great stuff. He's pretty busy right now, but I think he's still getting stuff shipped within a few days. So if you need a quality holster and you want to support a small company in the North Central Indiana area, check out Four Brothers Holsters. If I was really on the ball, I'd have their website up. I can't read the card from here. Ninja Scout, welcome. All right. Well, there's those goodies underway. Showed you guys the t-shirts. And I don't know, I've got a buddy. It's, I received a ping, well, not a ping, a story mention, and too many stories on Instagram. Colvin 1129. He ordered one of the 2A Bullets t-shirts, so hope you like it. I was really impressed. I wasn't sure what the classic tee from Teespring, which is what most of my listings are. I'm able to sell those at $19.99 and make a couple of dollars for the channel. And it actually turns out they're using Hanes t-shirts. I was really happy to see that. So, and the printing on here isn't so thick that it looks like it's just going to crumble off after one wash. Went to a VA appointment and they want a Roto-Rooter from both. That sounds unpleasant. That doesn't sound good at all. So speaking of VA, Vanessa, if you don't mind, if you get an opportunity and you want to type an essay while you're listening to the stream, what is your thoughts as somebody who is obviously using the Veteran Affairs system? It's one of those things, obviously. National health care is always a big part of the left versus right debate when it comes to politics. And so I'm interested, as somebody who's using a small sample of kind of what we would all be looking at if we went to a system like that. Can you give us a brief? Can you give us a brief thought on that? I don't want to lead the witness, but I've talked to several military veterans, and if you have an opportunity, or just say no, and you know, that's fine. But I hope all goes well, by the way. I'm just curious if we could get somebody who's currently going through the VA, if we could get your opinion on the whole system and situation. Would not be alive today if it's not for the VA. Okay. So that's, yeah. I know a lot of veterans who will only use the VA as a last resort, and they prefer to have any other option available to them. So I'm obviously very happy that it's working for you, and yeah, again, I didn't want to lead the witness with that. Because I'm always, once again, I've said this so many times, I don't want to have my head in an echo chamber. And I don't know what to believe when it comes to reports that I see from Canada and Australia and elsewhere in Europe. Not that I think Australia is in Europe. I want to go on record there. I know there's a lot of people that get Austria and Australia mixed up. I'm not one of those, but I hear horror stories, and then I hear, you know, people singing praises, and anybody can put anything they want on the internet. It was just earlier this morning that I said, it's amazing. We live in an age of never before seen access to information, and yet it seems like disinformation still spreads so much faster. So, Jeremy, your buddy said he likes the VA he's with. Okay. Started to use them in 92. Sort of go hunt, discover how to do things. Now have a much more thorough working of the vet. Benefits of men in VA hospital. Problem I've had have all been corrected after they happen. Like employees messing up. Well, and you'll have, I mean, it's run by people. So I've heard horror stories of misdiagnoses and refusal for second opinions. Famously, here very recently, there was the story of the individual who the VA refused to pay for his fitted prosthetics, and so they were repossessed. I should probably fish up that link. I will. I'll fish up the link. So if you guys want a link to that story. I may have misread it. I will fish that up if you want it. Let me know, and I'll drop it in the chat. See ya, Ninja. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate the few minutes of you, and let's get into some meat and potatoes. In so much as there are any meat and potatoes this evening. We'll definitely talk about some fruitcake, though, I think. And first thing, I was reading an article here, and I didn't get all the way through it, but last week, one of the big things we talked about was the fact that the Supreme Court had refused to hear the bump stock ban hearing. And on March 4th, there was an article posted in AmmoLand where Justice Gorsuch, I'm terrible with names. Anyway, he made some comments. He made some commentary on that, and it's actually, I guess, fairly uncommon for a justice to make any commentary when a case is dismissed or passed, I guess, where they don't grant certiorari. Why do we have to use so many weird words in Greek, or in Greek? In law, thank you. Anyway, so it looks like, once again, it's not a no, we refuse to hear this. It's that this case is also being looked at in other courts, and so until it's processed through there, the Supreme Court doesn't intend to hear it. Not that they won't ever, but they're not looking at it now. Gorsuch. Okay, thanks, TPC. Vanessa Kitty said he got that prosthetic outside the VA and thought he could send the bill to the VA. Should have gone through the VA first. Okay. And there's many things about which I'm super ignorant, and most anything when it comes to military affairs and veterans affairs, not the VA, but affairs as it pertains to veterans. Obviously, I'm a lifelong civilian. I'm going on hearsay and misunderstandings, and or hearsay and doing my best to understand. So I didn't have a chance to read that. Once again, I didn't have a lot of chance to go through articles today or this week, so perhaps case from New York City will screw us royalty when the Supreme Court gives us. Yeah, Vanessa, it can definitely, the bump stock case can definitely skid sideways here. And the fact that it's still active in lower courts, I'm sure, is the reason that Tim from the Military Arms channel just kept completely mute about it. Because once again, he's a named entity in that case. So anything he says could put the case at risk. And so he typically doesn't. Oh, well, that's just being a terrible human being, Vanessa. And I'm sure you absolutely realize that. I don't like that. Oh, okay. Article here on House Resolution 3665, aka the School Violence Prevention and Mitigation Act of 2019. cautiously optimistic about this one. Contrary to what the title of the bill says, usually when I see any kind of bill named in a way that they're wanting to prevent violence or, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. My knee-jerk reaction is, well, they're going to blame the tools and they're going to want to just try to ban more stuff and ban this and ban that, ban the other thing. This one, though, doesn't appear to really touch existing gun laws. What it's meant to do is to provide grants and resources for schools to conduct vulnerability assessments and correct security shortfalls. I know that we have some grants like that already in the state of Indiana, and we are making use of them at all of the schools in my area. So that said, I still fully believe that the best way to increase school safety would be to repeal the Gun-Free School Zone Act. And I mentioned that to a student, and she turned white as a sheet and freaked out. And then I went through the whole thing. You know, when I was a kid, kids could still have their dad bring in their his hunting rifle for show and tell in kindergarten. And you know what we didn't really have? School shootings. Not that they never happened. Violent people are going to be violent, but they weren't. There's not the epidemic that they're made out to be, but it wasn't like it is now. So got to the VA this morning at 05:30 to get parking. Went inside it. Holy crap! I don't even wake up until 05:30. That's, I guess, I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make your appointments. That's awesome, though, that they were right on time, because I don't get that with civilian doctors half the time. Bump stock and enhanced rate of fire passed here was money since October 2018. And that's a shame. Pass here has money allocated for. Okay, but I don't like when it's part and parcel of a ban. And I'm not saying that you do. I've seen you in the different live chats on like 2AEDU and other streams that we've been on concurrently. I've seen you complain about your local, well, Connecticut, right? And you've talked about how terrible they are. Matter of fact, I just placed an order today that, if I recall correctly, is an absolute felony in Connecticut. Of course, I think a high capacity magazine is as well, isn't it? Left home at 04:30, 62, Connecticut. So, and that's a real shame that they're going to attack the gun owners and then not make use of the funds that are there to actually maybe make schools safer. So, yay for that. Binary triggers, Class C felony. Yep. Ghost guns are a felony in, like 80% guns are a felony in Connecticut, aren't they? Let's see what you have to say about that. And speaking of so-called ghost guns, here's another below the radar from Ammo Land. House Resolution 3265, the 3D printed Gun Safety Act of 2019. That seems like a good thing, right? I mean, if I'm going to assemble a firearm, I want it to be safe. Went through the process of assembling, well, I've assembled 2 AR-15s now. Those weren't 80%. Nothing in those is 3D printed. But I put all the little fiddly bits inside, and so obviously I wanted it to be safe. So this sounds like a good thing. The last one sounded like a bad thing, turned out to be a good thing. This one sounds like a good thing, and it's a terrible thing. What this will do, it has nothing to do with the safety of any 3D printed guns. It would make putting files on the internet for 3D printing or home manufacturing, I imagine that would even go to negative 3D printing or CNC machining, like the Ghost Gunner machines. I imagine that would even affect those, and it's going to be listed under 18 U.S. Code 922. So, ghost guns now must have a form filled with state police to do a background check on purchase, and then they issue a serial number. In 30 days, complete the second half. Okay. So it's not that you can't own them, it's just that it requires basically a 4473, and you have to serialize them. Which is, if I remember correctly, the reason that 2A EDU just went ahead and purchased a completed serialized lower from, or a serialized strip lower from Polymer 80 for his Glock build, because the state of Michigan requires a serial number and registration and blah blah blah. Of course, and it's why they're so afraid of 3D printed stuff, because you can purchase a slide and you can purchase all of the components and have it delivered straight to your house, and then fire up your 3D printer and print you out a Glock 19 lower, or grip frame, I guess is the appropriate term. Slap it all together, and oh no, now you've got a scary unregistered firearm. So is the bar stock of metal crime. It's required. Well, and I mentioned that it was actually on, I don't know if you guys subscribe to Babyface P. He's got more subs than me, but I'm kind of going to do a shout out here. That's backwards. I mean, that's not really a shout out. Anyway, if you're not subscribed to Babyface P, he is a guest fairly frequently on Hank Strange's channel, who you should also be subscribed to. I like Hank's videos. And let me grab his channel. Well, for everybody who's not subbed to Babyface P already, there's the link, and he just did a video milling out an 80% lower on the Ghost Gunner CNC machine. FYI, if you're willing to have a slightly slower machine that's a little bit louder than the new ones, I found complete Ghost Gunner kit or Ghost Gunner machines with all the goodies used on eBay, going for $1,400 or $1,500 shipped. So I would like to buy one. I'm just not in a position to buy one. But anyway, I made a comment in this video because somebody made some asinine comment about, legitimately nearly a bootlicker comment, and it was about the kind of thing where they're trying to make ghost guns illegal. And I made a comment very similar to what you just said, Vanessa, that so are they going to make a block of aluminum, aka a 0% lower, illegal? I mean, you can't stop the signal. This is a well-specified, the AR-15 is a well-specified specification. Boy, that's redundant. Anyway, I could take a block of aluminum and a hand drill And like a coping saw or a hacksaw or a sawzall, I may not end up with a pretty finished receiver, but I could do that by hand if I was really dedicated to it. And what are they going to do? Track every purchase of 7075 aluminum ever? It's just asinine. Anyway, this 3D printed Gun Safety Act, though, goes a little bit deeper than that because of the way, we've talked about this before, because of the vague wording that they put into things. If they, let me reread this again. So this would make it illegal to put instructions and files on the creation and completion of 3D printed firearms. Well, what about reloading? Is it going to make reloading information and you know, load dope sheets illegal? It could. They could apply it to that. What about basic maintenance? Okay, I do a lot of my own maintenance. In fact, I do almost all my own maintenance by virtue of the fact that I'm a cheapskate and I like working with my hands. Well, what if I need to re-blue my shotgun? Are the instructions for, you know, stripping it down and cold bluing or hot bluing it, are those going to be illegal now? It's such a slippery slope here. Honestly, that's probably one you should reach out to your congressional representatives and urge them to oppose 3265. Brownie's 5-axis mill. Yep. Yeah. Honestly, I know some local machinists. There's some really good 2A supporters, and I really think that if I paid for the stock, like the bar stock, I might be able to. Yeah, no, I might be able to get them to take me from a bar of aluminum to an 80%, and they could do that. They can. Right now, they can do that with no kind of legal ramifications. As long as they don't drill out that fire control group pocket, they can make me a nifty aluminum paperweight that happens to be shaped like an AR-15 receiver, and then I could bring that home and finish it. If they really want to live in the land of free men don't ask permission, they can make me a completed receiver, and I could bring it home, and if I'm ever asked about it, yeah, I made this myself. Not saying that I would do that, Mr. ATF agent. Not saying that I recommended that. Most of the things that I say on this channel probably shouldn't be construed as recommendations or advice. Just because. Okay. Want one in my secure storage workshop in Texas. That way I can, with 3D print with robot arms, manipulate the ghost code. That way I can have the robots making lowers in Texas when I'm not there. I fully support that. Look, before the law went into effect, can't start work on that until I order sterile. Now that disgusts me, Vanessa. Not at you, that disgusts me at that law. A-Dubs. Hi, A-Dubs. That's a new name in the chat. Ordering 80% are hardly any different than muzzle loading kits. True. ATF just wants their excise tax for manufacturing modern common use firearms, which is why I buy kits and components as often as possible. Even if I wanted a new BCM AR-15, I would very likely order a BCM lower, have that sent to my FFL, and a BCM upper and have it sent to me, and save 11% excise tax by popping 2 pins. Oh no, I don't get a magazine in that. Who cares? Every gun law is a slippery slope to indentured servitude. Actual legal term is infringed. Shall not be infringed. Also, hashtag repeal the NFA. I can mill most anything if I buy a CNC or milling machine workshop. So if you've got property in Texas, why do you live up in the communist Northeast? I mean, just curiosity. You know, just wondering. All right. So let's talk about one last thing. Speaking of infringement, great segue. Did everybody see the video of a Michigan worker trying to talk to Joe Biden? That was fantastic. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot that day. I need to be buying an AR-14 if I can find one. And a machine gun is the same thing as an... I don't know. He didn't know, so I don't know. Let's see. Of course, we knew that we didn't need 100 rounds. 100 rounds and why? He never specified that. He just said, do you need 100 rounds? Well, like, at all? In a magazine? Of course, we know we don't need those 30-round clipazines that fire 1,200 rounds a minute. You know, and then he asked, can you own a machine gun? Well, that's one place where that worker slipped, because the answer is yes, you can own a machine gun. It's just been had an undue burden placed on this constitutional right. But yes, creepy Uncle Joe, I can own a machine gun. I can legally own a machine gun. It just so happens that it has to be manufactured prior to April of 1986, and I have to, you know, kiss the ring and pay my $200 and may I please have my rights back, kind of thing. So, without the merchant compete. From here, we lived in Texas. Okay. Okay. There's machine gun, full auto, select fire, and then there's semi-auto. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Vanessa, it seems like you're getting as frustrated as I get about that. And then, unfortunately, the definitions are now important. They should be completely unimportant. The fact of the matter is that anybody who uses and trains or whatever knows that fully automatic fire is of very limited use. It's best used in suppressive fire situations and in burst mode and etc., etc., etc. And any military vets watching this are saying, yeah, duh, don't tell us this. That was my job. But somehow the anti-gunners don't get that. Yeah, it's not even a combat load, true. Vanessa, the last time I looked at a full auto, at an M16 lower, a registered M16 lower, it was 30 grand for the complete lower. I haven't looked into a registered Lightning Link, because I think that's substantially cheaper. Now, that said, if you would like a modern art project, you know, like a cell phone holder, just going to plug the merchandise again, you can go grab this, there we go, that one right there has designs on it for a really nifty cell phone holder that, you know, you could choose to 3D print or bend up out of some heavy gauge wire you had laying around. For legal reasons, that was a joke. Just saying. One more master's degree. I ask, why do you only have 100 rounds? Anyway, well, yeah, any gun I bring to the firing range, I use 200 rounds per gun. It is nothing it is nothing for me to realize that I've gone through 150 or 200 rounds in my handgun at the range. If you go back and you look where I was with the ACOG style red dot that I picked up to test, who asked for that? I don't remember now. Have to go back and look. Anyway, you know, I put 120 rounds downrange on the 100-yard range just to stress that 0. And if you'll remember, it didn't hold. That's neither here nor there. That's pretty typical for me when I put an optic, especially a cheap optic that I'm trying to test for you guys. I will 0 it, which depending on how close it is out of the box. So with these cheap optics, half the time it'll take me most of a mag to get it 0'd. So there's 30 rounds. Then I'll go and throw 4 mags at the steel on the 100, and then I'll come back and put a few more rounds downrange and see how the 0 did. So, you know, right there, that's an easy 150 rounds without doing any kind of actual training. You know, so Joe, why would I need 100 rounds? Well, the classes that I'm looking at, they want me to bring a case and a half of ammo with me for the class. That's why. No, that's not why. Why do I need 100 rounds? It's none of your business. Why do I need 100 rounds? Because people like you are threatening my God-given rights. Do I need 100 rounds? I don't know. But if the time comes and I need 100 rounds, I'm going to have 100 rounds. I'm going to have 1,000 rounds. I'm going to have 2,000 rounds. I see these news articles where they bust somebody with a shotgun and a bolt-action hunting rifle and 1,000 rounds of ammo between those and their handgun, and they talk about this huge weapon stockpile. And I'll turn this way so you guys. I shudder to think what they would call my house. And I know most of you guys, this is nothing for the folks who I hang out with here on YouTube, the folks I hang out with here in the real world. Not that you guys aren't in the real world, but you know, you guys know what I mean. Yeah, it's like one day we're going to see something where they actually decide to take on a militia group, and I'm not rooting for it, but that'll be incredible. Alright, getting away from the chat here. Buy a strip pre-band Colt lower for $1,200. Basically a piece of metal with no parts, but a serial number saying it was manufactured. A-Dubs was a Marine 0311 from 4 to 12. Let's see, you were getting in as my brother-in-law was getting her out. And hopefully, because my brother-in-law was a Marine and Marines brought my brother back from 2 trips to the sandbox, I hope I'm allowed to say this. Hoorah, thank you, Semper Fi. I appreciate your service, I legitimately do. If I'm not allowed to say that, let me know and I'll never do it again. Trained with A2s and A4s and semi almost exclusively. Full auto was for the belt feds. Yeah, the M16, if you go and look at Eric's meltdown videos, they don't like full auto. I mean, his Palmetto State caught fire in like 650 rounds. I think that the M&P only made it to 700 some. They just, or the gas tube pops, or they don't like sustained full auto fire. They're not made for that. And again, I know that. You know that. Somehow these anti-gunners just, but they're constantly, we've talked about this before, and it's not, I focus on like the gun rights thing, but across the board, legislators are constantly making laws about things that they have no clue. There was one, this was a Republican congressman, and I don't have links, this is something I heard from somebody, but he had presented a law saying that when a tubal pregnancy was removed to save the mother's life because it's a non-viable pregnancy, the law he was sponsoring or whatever said that embryo had to be reimplanted, which with current technology, my understanding, is not possible at all. And he had no clue. And it's constantly this. Rewind back to the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. I don't remember how many pages that was. I think it was 15 or 1700 pages, and don't quote me on that. But the time that the legislators had to even consider that, from that point to the point that it was passed into law, they wouldn't have even had the opportunity to read a page-turning novel, let alone that many pages of legal jargon, legal and medical jargon, let alone comprehend it. And that's one of the big problems, is that there's no comprehension going into this. There's a reason that I don't speak, I'm not speaking on the whole COVID-19 or coronavirus. Okay, I will say this, let's implement some common sense. All right, wash your hands. Don't touch your face. That's normal cold and flu season stuff. If you feel sick, stay home. That should be like common courtesy stuff anyway. Aside from that, how bad is it? I don't know. How bad is it going to get? I don't know. You ask me some computer virus questions, I might know. But even at that, I'm going to have to research it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. It's not my business to say anything about coronavirus, aside from the fact that I just did, to make the point that we've got so many people, so many talking heads, talking about stuff that they don't know, they don't understand, and then in government, they're passing laws on it. And then they, well, we're going to have a research group, or we're going to have a time for research, or, well, I don't trust that anymore either, because facts don't, or what is that? Statistics don't lie, but liars can use statistics. And I've come to the point that I have very little faith that anything being undertaken by our government is done in good faith. All right, out of the corner of my eye, I've seen the chat scrolling, so let me... Okay, and Vanessa, maybe... See, this is one of those things where all these stupid laws we have are unfathomable. So, if I were to buy a stripped pre-band lower that's a registered machine gun, can I buy a new M16 lower parts kit and refurbish it? Or is the actual sear block serialized as well? That's what that's something that I'm having a hard time finding information on. Because honestly, I think it was Optics Planet, I'll have to go double check, Mr. Guns and Gear gave a link to a brand new full auto lower parts kit. And yeah, once again, when is this more attractive than this? Anyway, because for $1,200, so probably for $1,300 or $1,400 plus the tax stamp, that's actually, it's still more than it should cost, but that's almost affordable. M16 was the first rifle he trained on in USAF. 80. Brownies is in the Matrix. Okay, just keep an eye out for the deja vu, because that's when they've changed something. If the enemy doesn't stand stationary. Pale Horse, welcome. And yeah, you might be right. That's a fail on all of us who would consider ourselves to be Minutemen. If we're not training to move and shoot, we're not training for reloads under duress while needing to perform self-care. We're not doing force on force ideally. Yeah, that's... And I've got to say that a couple months ago, I was at the range and was working on engaging 100-yard steel IPSC targets, moving at more or less strafing, and taking shots while walking is a lot more difficult than most people would think. I guess I can't say you as in my viewers, because I see a lot of military folks in here, and I'm sure you guys have trained on that. But like, I watch Chris Bondi of Regular Guy Training, and he's doing these shoot videos where he's slaloming around barrels. I tried that one time. You guys did not see that footage because it was terrible. The fact that I didn't trip and shoot myself in the foot, I find amazing. Ectopic pregnancy, bad. Baby must gestate inside uterus and womb, not outside. Yes, Vanessa. I got a raw back, so I'm going to guess that I'm okay with that. Yeah, I've said this on my previous live streams. Part of me will always feel like I should have served. That's always been an interest of mine. And oh, it was Mark 18. Mark 18 is the one who asked about that optic, and I haven't seen him in the last few chats. So, Mark 18, if you catch this on the after, man, I miss you. So anyway, let's best do this all the time. You don't want to wash up bodily fluids. We put on protective clothing. Yeah, math teacher. I don't like math. Aside from physics is a mathy science. I kind of like that. I'm scrolling because no, Vanessa. You usually don't talk, and you are a wealth of knowledge. You are not chatting too much. Strip lower must. Or pistol pre-ban. Yeah. Need registering, but any gun past September 90th. Gotcha. Gotcha. See, but once again, it is just... There shouldn't be this many questions. And we've now gotten to the point where everybody in the community, they're like, well, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's this. I think it's this. Somebody's like, well, I'll just reach out for clarification. And everybody goes, no. Because every time somebody reaches out to clarification, it's like the ATF goes, oh, yeah, you can't have that anymore. You know, the Franklin Armory Reformation, the Fostech Origin SBV, bump stocks. You can't have that. You know, the whole thing with can you or can't you shoulder a pistol brace? Well, right now you can. I'm recording this in March of 2020. Right now you can. But that's gone back and forth a ton of times. You know, oh no, you can only get a cheek weld. Oh, it's so ridiculous. Why? Go back before they attempted prohibition of alcohol, when things were fairly unregulated, and overall, you're going to find a lower violent crime rate. And I don't understand how that can be so obvious from anybody who wants to look at the numbers and completely completely out of the reach mentally of somebody else. I don't know. Threaded is Class C felony. Mere possession. What? Should know the move. You have to master the Groucho Mark combat glide. Yeah, and I've worked on that. I actually tried working on that walking down the hallway at school one day, and I got some funny looks. Not with a rifle. I guess I should. That would get me a lot of funny looks. Just kind of was walking down, and I was thinking about, because the time I went shooting with a recent graduate who is now in the Marine Corps, and he was showing that to me. One thing I have that helps me out is, as a distance runner, I really try to maximize the efficiency of how I land, because obviously when you're running, you get several times your body weight on a single leg at a time as you impact, and so proper biomechanics help to ease that. And it's very similar. You're landing on a bent knee, and so yeah, for me it's more of the whole patting your head while you're rubbing your belly thing. I struggle to work a trigger finger while I'm trying to walk. I can walk and chew bubble gum. I struggle to throw talking in there at the same time. So crime rates go up because people are living in a tiny geographic area with 10 million other people. Yeah. Suppressors can be welded on a rifle. So I was going to ask about pinning and welding your suppressor too, but how, like, you have to have basically a bull barrel and then manage to properly center the suppressor so it's perfectly concentric and then have it permanently affixed? Is that what you're saying? That seems stupid. And once again, how many times have suppressors been used in crimes aside from illegal ownership or illegal manufacture? Maybe a dozen since the institution of the NFA? Okay, pinned. So does that, pistols with a threaded barrel, so does that kill things like AR pistols then? Because in the eyes of the law, it's a pistol. See, there shouldn't be all these questions. I have I am legally allowed to vote and have a pancreas and stuff. I can own a firearm. It doesn't matter if it goes bang or if it goes bang, 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 click, whatever. Special category can buy the banned firearms. Leo, military, judges, some politicians. Drunk bull. See, and my problem with that list, Vanessa, just in conversation, because I know you didn't create the list, you're just informing us. So Leos, we have a civilian police force. Military, we have a civilian volunteer military. Judges are supposed to be civilians performing a public service. Politicians, they're all supposed to be we the people. So why, once again, are some animals more equal than others? That's my biggest gripe in all of this, is that Animal Farm was supposed to be a warning, and we've allowed it to become an instructional manual. That's we the people. I'm guilty. Everybody shares, probably everybody shares some guilt. I guess there may be somebody who has been perfectly pro-Constitution and has been very vocal all along. I'm not able to claim that. Not that I've ever been anti-Constitution, but I've certainly not been as active as I should be, not been as vocal as I should be. And mine's one voice. But how many people use that excuse? My vote doesn't count. I'm just one person out of 330 million. Military ID. Can I buy a high-capacity magazine and elevated guns? So, here's my thought on the military ID being part of that special group. It's like I was reading on, let me give you a story to illustrate my point. Last summer, we took a trip down to the caves in southern Indiana, and on the way, we decided to stop at the Indianapolis Children's Museum. And the Indianapolis Children's, that did not work right. Let me try all of the syllables. The Indianapolis Children's Museum, as of 2012, is now a school. They have a year-round preschool on premises. And so all of the rules that pertain to firearms at a school pertain now to the Indianapolis Children's Museum. Now, the reason that's pertinent is because in Indiana, the no weapons signs do not carry the force of law. So if I go to a zoo, for instance, and they have the sign that says you're not allowed to have a Beretta, or the sign that says you're not allowed to have a 1911, I go ahead and carry my Glock in. My Glock likes the animals. It wants to see the lions and tigers too. It just has to view them from the safety of being concealed. So I was just double checking, is the Indianapolis Children's Museum a gun-free zone, etc., etc. Find out it's a school zone. And on one of the Indiana concealed carry forums, there was a fella who was saying, you know, I'm law enforcement, I could carry, but I don't think it's right for me to abuse that, and so I don't when I'm there as a patron, off duty. My thing is, I would rather somebody be armed, and several other people parroted that. So, Vanessa, you know what? If you can take advantage of that status, do it. Because while it's maybe you'll feel it's hypocritical, maybe some people would feel it's hypocritical, if the crap hits the fan, you're in a position to do what anybody should be allowed to do. So that's where I stand on that. If you, with your military ID card, can more fully utilize your constitutional rights, go for it. Is it right that everybody else cannot? No, it's not. But that's not your fault. So I don't personally see. I think it's asinine. Not that I think that you should be a prohibited person in any way, but I think it's asinine that there's those categories. So, yeah, wasn't calling you out on that. I don't think that your response didn't make it seem like you did feel called out. Like I said, I would, if I was law enforcement in such a way that I was permitted to carry a firearm everywhere I went, abso-friggin-lutely. As it is, whenever I can, I'm carrying, and that's not something that I always did. I got out of the habit because I've worked places, almost every place I've ever worked, it was actually an infraction. And at the time, I was more concerned about maintaining a job, and so I let shirk my moral responsibility, and I'm glad nothing happened. I look back now and I say those jobs weren't worth it, especially because I wouldn't have pulled a felony. I simply would have been terminated from the job. So, anyway. Firearm, back through. Days 1 and 2. Group. It should be the larger mags. I said no, only the 10 rounders. I do not have a lawyer to fight this law. Fair enough. Okay, so you could possibly maintain those magazines and stuff, but then have to register them. Gotcha. Anyway, yeah, good stuff. I can only speak for myself, but I want you to know that if I lived in such an infringed area, I would be jealous that I wasn't able to take advantage of that myself, but I would in no way begrudge you. And once again, if that gives you the opportunity to be armed where somebody else might not be, if you've got the willingness to step in that gap, and having served, I would guess you do, they could save somebody's life. Well, folks, once again, I didn't have a lot today, so I'm kind of surprised I managed to fill an hour. For any newcomers, don't forget to click the link in the description or at the top of the chat. Of course, you'd have to scroll all the way back up. But get yourself registered for the 250 subscriber giveaway. Once again, up for grabs are a few flashlights and the Four Brothers Boogaloo EDC dump tray. Really like this. This is good heavy Kydex here, and about 10 by 10 it looks like. So if your stuff in your pockets fills more than this, you could order a second one from Four Brothers website. There you go. Anyway, if you want to help support the channel, once again, I'll throw this up here. You can go to bit.ly/TR merch and pick you up a shirt or a coffee cup. I'm going to tell you, if you go with the absolute lowest end shipping, it did take me about a week for my shirt to process, be printed, and get to me. And I'm still waiting on my coffee cup. Teespring told me it shipped like a week ago, and I'm afraid DHL has lost it. That's neither here nor there. If you're not following the channel on social media, I'd say go ahead and do that. I share some behind the scenes stuff, a lot of times like political hot button stuff, immediate action items. I will share that over on Instagram or Facebook. Occasionally share some memes. Here recently I've been just sharing my daily workouts just for motivation. That's something I talked a little bit about physical fitness in yesterday's video, in which I also did a quick review on Nick Irving's Way of the Reaper. Awesome book. Highly recommend that you get you a copy of that and read it. Anyway, talked a little bit about physical fitness. I think it's super important. It's good for your mental health, obviously good for your physical health. And if the feces ever hits the rotational air circulation device, you're going to need a modicum of physical fitness to stay in the fight. If you're not wanting to buy merch, but you would like to support the channel, you can do that over on Patreon. Appreciate my Patreon supporters. You guys help to get ammo and do all of the things that it takes to keep the channel running. So On Insta, adding me on Insta. Well, thank you. And I will probably add back. So I appreciate that. I've gotten some awesome shout outs, and I appreciate you guys so much. You guys, I wasn't sure a year ago when I put my first video up, I really wasn't sure that anybody would care at all about what I had to say, and you guys are awesome. I've found a group of like-minded patriots, and that's amazing, because too many times when you go through social media, you see so much infighting in the 2A community, and I think that will ultimately be, if we allow ourselves to be overcome, that will be what does it, is all these disparate groups. You know, you don't need that, you shouldn't have that, well, I don't use that, and you know, who cares? Because history shows us that once they get this, then they're going to come for this. They're not going to let you keep it. So let's use some common sense here. Yeah, and once again, I'm not a healthcare professional, but wash your hands. That's nasty. And if somebody can explain to me why everybody is grabbing toilet paper for a respiratory illness, I'm curious. Curious. Does that mean people ain't been wiping and then now they? I don't know. I don't know. The implications are frightening. It's easier to buy and store banned ones in Texas. Thanks, great. Yeah, no, Vanessa, thank you for being so active in the chat. That's awesome. Because without that, what I have is so very, very little. Utility pants do have lots in them, bags as well. Over 500 followers on IG now. Awesome. Yeah, I'm almost to 100. And I want to thank, I don't think he's on here tonight, but my buddy Petey, he's the one who told me to get on Instagram in the first place, and he was absolutely right. I like Instagram so much better than any of the other social media I'm on. Yeah, I check in every now and again on Facebook, and I stay away from Twitter. That seems like a cesspool to me. Shoulder holsters, go bananas when I say I do. You know, I like shoulder holsters. My biggest problem with shoulder holsters is I'm obviously a huge fan of concealed carry. You can open carry here in Indiana. You can open carry in a lot of places. I don't think it's tactically the most sound thing. Obviously, you get faster access potentially to your weapon. But so with a shoulder holster, then I feel the necessity to wear a jacket. At one point, one of my good friends had loaned me his Galco gun leather jackass rig, and it was fantastic. I had my pistol like up in here nice and tight, and wore it under my suit coats, and yeah, it felt fantastic. He asked for his property back, so I don't have that anymore, and I just don't wear jackets often enough. But nah, I like shoulder holsters, and you know, there's certain things that qualify a good holster, and as long as your rig is meeting those, you do you. If shoulder holster is your preferred, to me it's so much better than purse carry. I know a lot of people advocate for that, and off-body carry is like far and away. It's you know, barely better than nothing. Anyway, wear a leather vest, concealed carry. Shoulder holster is hidden. It has CCW pockets. Carry my largest pistol. So that's awesome. And I would definitely be checking out your holster work then. I've become a huge fan of Kydex just because of cost and the retention. But speaking of, before I get off here, I don't know if you can see it there in the background. Right there is my newest Four Brothers acquisition. Had him, I used a Safariland mid-drop with Safariland QLS system, and then Four Brothers made me an OWB holster and assembled it all for me, and that rig is fairly fantastic. I'm not sure about the battle belt. When I was afraid stuff was skidding sideways hard a couple months ago, I picked up a cheap belt to get something OWB. But anyway, I don't think that one is listed. So if you're interested, my coworkers actually just commissioned one of those. So if you're interested, you might have to use the contact form on the Four Brothers website and just say, hey, I'm interested in building a range rig like I saw on Tactical Review, and he'll do it with or without the QLS system. QLS is nice because then I can have him if I get a different light, or if I have a second handgun that I want to start using in the range sometimes. Obviously, then all I need is the QLS fork and then a second holster, and I don't need two drop sets. I don't need two receiver brackets. Or also, if I wanted to do a classic OWB, I could just get the receiver part and the Safariland standard belt, which I've got a Safariland ALS that I could steal the belt loop off of. So anyway, just another rig for Four Brothers, or another rig. No, another shout out to Four Brothers. Just really, I've really enjoyed working with Jason since I started getting into changing up. It was when I switched to appendix carry. He's a heck of a nice guy. Also one of the elected members, like board members at the range where I shoot. So I've had a lot of communication with him. Awesome dude. So if you're looking for a holster and you want a small company, you want to support a small business, and you want to make sure that you're supporting somebody who is super pro 2A, Four Brothers, no questions about it. You can follow him on Instagram and Facebook as well. That's at the number 4 Bros LLC. Or you can check my followed list on Instagram, and you can find him there. Makes awesome products. And it all started because he couldn't find anything that did exactly what he wanted in a competition rig. So there you go. Shoulder holsters for long road trips? Yes. Shoulder holsters are great in a vehicle. The next best, I think, would have to be appendix carry. But heaven help you if you have a full bladder and you need to reach for something that fell in your foot. Well, source, I nearly peed my pants. I didn't, but it was a close thing. System damage on right side. The shoulder holster, best CCW. Here is a must. So, well, guys and gals, thanks so much for joining. Oh, Stephen B, you're getting here right as we're signing off. Thank you for popping in. Stephen, you just got here. I'm gonna excuse me, go ahead and say click the link in the description for the 250 subscriber giveaway if you're not registered already, and hopefully I can catch you next time. I'm still dragging pretty hard from time change, so I'm doing my best to be chipper, but this has been a rough week. So anyway, I'm gonna sign off here, guys, and the chat will keep running for a few minutes after, and I will jump in the chat and we can talk until YouTube kicks us out. How's that sound? Guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, shoot straight, stay safe.